Hello, everybody. Welcome in to the AEL University Open Series R6 Finals Day. My name is Danny Slim. I am joined by Cthulhu ANZ. Cthulhu, mate, how are we doing this fine Friday evening?
Oh, look, it's been a pretty nice and chill Friday evening. Now getting some cheeky Siege games in, and look, I'm keen for the night, though it might be getting uh, a little bit shorter tonight. It looks like.
Yes, no, we wish we were coming in with some better news. We were supposed to have two best of threes, and unfortunately, our first one has actually been forfeited by Southern Cross University. That was against RMIT Red. That was going to be the third place match. Unfortunately, Southern Cross Uni just didn't have their players here for that time. So it is RMIT Red who win that one by forfeit. But Cthulhu, we still, of course, do have our grand final coming up.
Very much so, yeah. Quite an exciting time as well for the Open Series. MQU Crimson versus Murdoch Vikings coming in hot, and there's already been a few teasers for the potential rather interesting set of the maps, though those will probably be revealed a little bit later on. But honestly, no, this is a pretty solid opportunity here for both of the teams to really show up quite big, considering that on the standings as well, MQU Crimson has had a bit of a curious run, all things considered, and Murdoch Vikings on paper are the favorites going into this.
That they should be, and we will, of course, be going ahead with that grand final in a little bit. We're going to return, of course, around 8:30 p.m. AEST for that best of three. So go have yourself a little bit of a break. We're going to do that, and we'll be back with the grand final very shortly. Welcome back, everybody. Our extended little break there is finally over, and we are just about ready to get our grand final for the R6 AEL Open Series underway, Cthulhu. It should be a pretty good one tonight, but before we do get into the action and we discuss our teams, we should, of course, thank our beautiful sponsors that we have, starting with AGON by AOC. AGON by AOC is the #1 gaming monitor brand in the world. AGON by AOC provides the best in-class monitor solutions for gaming and all other needs.
On top of it all, big thank you to our friends at HyperX and Officeworks as well. Power your game with the latest HyperX gear at Officeworks. When you need speed, control, and zero distractions, Officeworks has got the tech. Discover gaming gear made to handle serious play.
And of course, to our food partner, Indomie. Indomie, the noodle partner, made with high quality flour and selected ingredients and spices. A plate of Indomie mee goreng will certainly brighten up your day. You can try any one of their flavors available today from your local grocer or at indomie.com.au. So thank you very much to all of our sponsors. And Cthulhu, now we can look towards the grand final. We were supposed to have that, of course, third place decided that had to be forfeited. But now, Macquarie Crimson up against the MDU Vikings in what should be a fantastic best of 3.
Yes, sir. Oh, absolutely. This is going to be a pretty solid one as well. On stats, Vikings are very much the favorites going into this. They have had a phenomenal run. The 7 wins to 1 losses run so far has been pretty solid overall. And honestly, their last few games, apart from their game against SCU1 roster, has been all wins. And as a matter of fact as well, against RMIT Red, it was in a best of 3, it was a 2-0 victory. Whereas on the side of MQU Crimson, with Calamity, Irotas, Fluffy, Nyan, and Alireza coming on through. So they actually came in also, well, with a pretty solid scoreline overall, 5-3 win rate, 5 wins to 3 losses, and the only loss that they had was actually with 0-1-2 previously to Vikings in the overall run. So honestly, this one might just be a bit of a story for a revenge here for MQU Crimson.
Well, that's what they'll be hoping for. Of course, this grand final being a best of 3 means that if you do drop that first one, there's plenty of time to bounce back from it, but you still would want to take that lead. Going to be seeing, of course, fairly soon what we've got in store for our 3 maps when it comes to the vetoes. But yeah, look, I mean, on paper, this probably leans towards Murdoch Uni's team. The Vikings there, they've got the past wins. They look like they're able to at least, take care of business when needed. I mean, Macquarie Crimson, in essence, that win that they had last week was probably a bit of a surprise to most, considering they beat out the Southern Cross boys, who had been the best team so far in the Open Series for R6. But, it's a funny thing what happens when the pressure gets up, when the series get longer. And look, you make diamonds under pressure, and one of those teams is definitely going to be doing that this evening.
Exactly that. Plenty of pressure to be applied as well above it all. And honestly, with depending on which maps we are going to see, that pressure will either get elevated even further or will get decreased a little bit. Considering that, though, our first map does get to be Clubhouse. After that, I believe I'm seeing a cheeky border as well, and then a chalet to close it all off. So all maps that are fairly well known, fairly well knowledgeable, and been in the scene for quite a fair while. So we are going basically back to almost textbook Siege, really, here.
At least when it comes to the map choices, we'll see if everything is going to be the same when it comes to the server. As Ace and Cow to be the first to take it out there for the bans. I do wonder with this one, of course, we had the update not too long ago, and there's been, of course, some changes back and forth. I had the pleasure of casting some last night, and Dokkaebi was one that was getting banned out instantaneously. Very, very strong off the new patch, and I do wonder whether or not they might just throw them away here, and lo and behold, second one out.
Lo and behold, indeed. I mean, with Dokkaebi, with the utility rework that she did receive, she did become a very strong operator, to say the least, considering just how potent that utility is now in tandem with somebody like even Deimos, with even bigger of a pain even as well with you know, the likes of Lions and so on and so forth. So, you know, roam clear has become a whole lot more dangerous here, and I'm look, a little bit bummed out that we won't get to see Dokkaebi at least demonstrated here, but in all honesty, maybe it is for the better, considering just how chaotic she can make things in a very short amount of time.
True, and of course, we've got plenty of halves to go through. We've got plenty of maps probably to go through as well. So there's a chance we will see that possibly come together. But preparations begin for our first map here. This is, of course, the pick of the Vikings. So they will look to try and take this one immediately down in towards basement side. Usually pretty strong hold here for Clubhouse. As I was casting, that no one actually held basement on Clubhouse, so I'm hoping I'm not cursing that one again there, but here we go. Grand Final 2026 AEL University Open Series gets underway. It's Macquarie Crimson up against the boys at Murdoch University Vikings.
Yes, sir. With the lineup that so far has been now introduced courtesy of the Vikings roster, I am curious to see how will that really play out, because considering the utility that they have brought on in, yet Ram is basically checking off all the right soft breaching utility checkpoints here as well. The Fink introduction does indicate for something a little bit more of a higher pressure, maybe a quicker push as well. Or potentially Vikings are alternatively opting for just having a little bit more of a buffer room with the health pool in case they do lose quite a fair bit of HP. A trippin' one. That pick of Grim is arguably the one that I'm quite interested to see how that will really play out, because Grim is one of those operators that is sort of in the middle of the overall sort of, I guess, popularity in terms of the choices. You sort of bring him over when you do want a little bit more of a localized, I guess, roam clear. His weaponry is pretty good. You do get the secondary heart breach charge, but you do need quite a bit of the coordination to really, you know, get his utility, get his whole kit rolling. So, wondering how well, or rather how up front will he be playing, because there's already quite a few engagements actually setting up right by the hatches.
Macquarie Crimson choosing not to really play any of those early roams the first honestly, the first 20 seconds. That was pretty much about it. As the clear's already coming in, and good space as the hatches are open. Rota's playing on that clash. Actually checking that shield down. So they're trying to sort of play off that where possibly hold that one down from the other side. But already 60 seconds.
Oh.
And the diffuser is actually being planted right now.
Hello? No contention whatsoever. Wait, what's going on? How is this being allowed? 5 people are still alive, and well, now finally they hit starting to all roll. But it's all just now erupting into a complete chaos. How did that happen?
Not even too sure how. And now look at this vert control they have here. The Vikings are just basically hold this one down from the top. Flash shield maybe helps a little bit, but as it stands, this is going to be incredibly difficult to try and get this diffuser taken back the other way. As Trippin will be taken down to half HP from the top side. Shots going out. Fluffy does get that one there. So there's still a chance, but the timer continues to tick. Someone needs to get on this, and this is where the shielding can actually save them here. The double kill as well.
Oh.
Diffuser's going through, but Pavo comes on top with that one. It is just Retro who's going to be left with it all to do as Calamity finds another, but the diffuser, it's not going to be done, or will be done from the other side.
Oh.
And that was a...
Oh, they did have enough time.
That was a round and a half to start things off here, just all over the place.
Yeesh, yeah. No, yeah, a solid attempt by MQU Crimson roster to try to get some sort of a recovery, but that plan should not have even been allowed in the slightest, really. Considering that they, just the amount of utility that they have brought on, and the fact that there was a C4 on the board as well to make the play happen, but unfortunately, it doesn't seem like there was much of the ability to really make a play, because, well, Cade has been basically completely forced out of exiting out of the dirt tunnel, and any sort of peek would have resulted in his own ultimate demise. The only one really that I'm sort of keeping an eye out for that could have really been the big playmaker here would have been the the mirror from Fluffy with the C4 to be thrown around right from just by the corner of that doorway. Would have been still in a relatively safe enough space to get that explosive, and unless one of the Vikings players have been an absolute crack shot to shoot out at midway, that would have been an easy deny as well. Well, nonetheless, though, a reattempt is starting to come on through from the defense as they opt to retry this whole setup and see if that will pan out any better. And in the meantime, on the side of Vikings, a little bit more of a, I suppose call it a little bit more of a just straightforward over lineup now being introduced. No more Finka, in comes Ash as well for something a little bit more of, I guess, aggressive.
Ever made.
So I'll attempt to start this one forward. I was going to say, Arotus was the only one who was playing on that upper level. It's actually switched across, so it'll be Nyan who plays top side. Actually up on that second floor right now. So that is that one lurk that Vikings are going to have to make sure they clear out. Again, want to play towards this basement. Most of these players here just... Well, I mean, this time around, they'd like to stop the diffuser being planted, especially when they have possibly those members up and about. But already, pressure being put down towards that storage stairs. Vikings making sure to drone out as much as they can, get all the information past the first 60 seconds. Not yet we're seeing any fights come through. Just waiting around. This is where Nyan can be that thorn in the side. They don't get cleared out here.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how, so far, the defense of Crimson squad is really playing it all out. They're not really too particularly keen on some of the engagements, though I am seeing Nyan coming around, looking to actually try to find a bit of a drop on the opposition, and that could be absolutely huge if the SMG-11 lands there, but by the looks of it, decision to actually back away is coming on through. I'm wondering if Erotos does get to well, at least stick around for too long, but Nyan, in comes the swing. Alright. That's the first one done. The second one attempt, but no, unfortunately not enough. And the R4C does drop the mute, but nonetheless, that is the Hibana now out of the equation. I'm wondering if the kitchen hatch has been already popped on open. And if not, well, yeah, by the looks of it has been in fact open. So, well, at the very least, Hibana's utility has been fulfilled. So, still a 4 versus 4 in a pretty steady position for MDU Vikings.
30 seconds running above these hatches. It all just comes down to the timing of who is going to be the first one to drop in and try and take these fights. Flashes will start to fall. We're just playing, again, that clash shielding. Trying to get themselves a position. There's Vert just off the right side, and oh, they're attempting to get that one. Knight actually just might get it through out in the open. I have no idea how he gets away with that, but the trade's immediately back. Trippin gets one onto Elitra there, and all of a sudden it's left to the two, and Trippin playing from above. Perfect start. Make it a triple. Is into a 1v1. Time here for Fluffy, as again, the Crimson squad try to bring these fights out. More time to play with. C4 goes high, not too far off, but can't quite connect. And Jake just needs to stay in that position. Fluffy needs to hope they miss the initial spray. Oh, the reload's going through. No. Fluffy just holds it. Pros don't fake. And we're tied at one apiece.
Jake popped off a few shots thinking, oh yeah, that'll show him. And then decides to completely back away. Oh, tragic sightings here in the match between the MQ Crimson and MDU Vikings. But look, hey, that works as well. That's solid nerves of steel as well on the side of the defense, and Fluffy is certainly redeeming themselves pretty nicely here. But man, what a way to conclude a round.
That's one way to do it. And I mean, the first two rounds have been interesting to say the least. The fact Knight got that diffuser played off, I just don't quite understand. I get it that MDU, they're going down. I mean, yes, they've got the vert control to protect that, but I mean, Crimson should have had someone on at least on a different angle there that should have just shut that away. And, well, I was going to say, the clash of Orotis, who was stuck on that clash, they were getting off the shield. And it was just taking too long. I mean, they got there. Eventually they get that kill, but... Well, I mean, if you're Crimson, I think you're decently happy, at least in the end. You've managed to take at least one on the basement side. You're now coming up to that second floor into that CCTV cache room. And we'll see what they can do in this third for the Vikings. Well, they've been pretty solid, at least for their setups. Getting the diffuser plants, no matter how strange they might seem. So they'll look to bounce straight back here as we get rocking and rolling in round number 3.
Exactly so. Quick switcheroo coming around as well on the side of Vikings roster. The introduction of the Capitao for some fire and smoke bolts to be brought on in. On the side of Crimson, though, a whole lot more of a drastic change, really, Britain being brought on in. The Thorn introduction does work really, really well here with the Legion choice to introduce a little bit more of just a hurdle course here for Crimson roster to play around, and then to double it all up, the Jaeger plus the Vigil combo. It's one of those, feels like a bit of a blast from the past, really, considering how even infrequently the Jaeger pick does come about. But in all honesty, I'm very much keen to see how this one will really pan out, because look, a Jaeger in the big old 2026, look, it's always a treat.
That's what we want. From outside, they've already got a wall open. We want to try and take garage control at some point here. Fluffy does have themselves a decent angle from the outside, and they will hit that first spray nicely. The second is possibly as well here as they get the damage towards it, but they cop a fair bit more back, and now that pressure is well on them. Trippin hits that shot beautifully, but Calamity is there with the instantaneous trade. They were playing closer side with that shotgun. And so it means Macquarie Crimson, they keep the player advantage at the 4v3.
Perfect as well, and that does slow things down towards the, well, the rafters, but I say this Knight able to pick up a nice long shot onto Alizi, Ali Reza. I keep on mixing that one up. Words are difficult in that regard, but yeah, look, picking up a nice long shot into the cache, I believe, actually. That is absolutely huge. Eurotas is the one to find the retrade. Does make things a whole lot more problematic for the Vikings push, and I'm still amazed just still to this moment that Calamity was able to still lurk his way on over to the ground floor entrance into the garage and still be able to score a nice clean kill onto Trippin.
Yeah, they've been effective so far in this one, delivering out more damage as well. The long range on that shotgun. Could be on for a couple more. The swing pass, they managed to get themselves away. And now Calamity, they're in trouble. Jake the Lake knocks them down 2v2. The fuser plant's going to go forward, and the angle is being covered decently well. Jake the Lake will find that one, and now Orotis is all that remains. Utility goes out a little late there to stop that diffuser plant, but they will still get that kill on towards Retro. And now it's Orotis and Jake the Lake. Jake did not have the clutchness in that last round in the 1v1 now needs to come together here. The knockdown perfect from the Echo side. And Jake the Lake puts it together. Fantastic stuff.
Oh man, Jake being fed those kills in round number 3 definitely felt like more so Crimson felt bad almost for bullying Jake in round number 2 and decided, you know what, here you go, here's some free kills. Because look, in no realm of, you know, possibility should Nyan have gone for that long swing, full well knowing that, mind you, there's a breach, there's bound to be somebody watching that spot as well, and then running out on that one, that was just pain. And then after Crimson, after Calamity falling to the air jab, surely, I mean, the whole entire wall was all soft. You could have shot out the air jab as well, which was arguably adding even more of a tragedy to the whole situation at the end. But nonetheless, look, well played to the Vikings roster. Still managed to hold on their placements really, really well, and
attackers need to locate and
went down
defuse as many
quite
bombs as they
steadily.
can.
There's definitely a bit of an element of what feels like maybe some rustiness coming out from the Crimson roster, but at least on the Viking side, it seemed to be at least fairly steady in terms of their overall progression.
Yeah, look, I mean, thinking of these 3 rounds they've had, they realistically and probably should have been up 3-0 in this situation, but you know, those are those little things which are going to be exploited in this grand final. If you are going to make those mistakes, they're just going to become more, well, it's just going to be louder and louder. You continue to mess up in these situations. Corey Crimson desperately trying to bring this back to even footing. The Viking boys, this is where they'll feel like they have a bit of blood in the water. Chance to open up a little advantage. The pressure on these defenders.
So yeah, the more pressure there is, the steadier second half for, at least for Vikings, should be, as long as they don't allow Crimson much of a progress here. Considering that Clubhouse, I mean, in all fairness, would be considered still a defender side of the map, but so far for Crimson, things have been a little bit on the more difficult side. I'm liking the idea here from Pavo to try to get a quick opener, but then thankfully with the Osa shields as well, he does get quite a fair bit of the safety net to really play around. So for now, his whole game is just he needs to dance around that shield and just wait for Trippin to be able to spring the trap.
Currently putting together those drones. Knight will start to join them as well. There's more information being passed over. Now Calamity under pressure. Let's fly close to them. And I don't think they've particularly got the backup this time. I mean, they weren't the one playing up on the rafters. They were down lower, and they were able to find the trades out. Again, throwing them out. At this point, though, I mean, you are delaying as much as possible, and that's what they're looking to do here. As Trippin starts to get these flames moving. Has to force them out to that right side, but still, I mean, there's only 80 seconds left on the clock. And yes, look, you're not far off on these diffuser plants when you need them. Pressure. They have to build up if they can't get this open, if they can't clear out Calamity here.
Yeah, Calamity is just doing his best to just try to stay alive for as long as possible. I mean, with all the keeper barriers and everything, the swing was very much of a demise. Could have tried to play a little bit more passively around his position, but nonetheless, still taking up quite a fair bit of time. And I mean, 50 seconds to go now for Crimson. They should be able to make the plays happen here. They should be able to just drain the time. The C4s already, one of them did come out. There's no more throwables as well, so now it's all down to just the gunfights themselves, and against the Osa, well, that's the one operator that you wish you had the explosives for.
Starts to put down that diffuser. I think should get away with this one, as Ali's also gone down in the meantime, so pressure continues to mount here on the Crimson defenders, as it's basically that 3v5. You're not probably going to get them up there. Jake playing from the outside, but there's so many other angles on that one, and Pavos, I should say, delivers that one onto Fluffy. And now the pressure all on to the last two remaining members. None. They're trying to get this pickup here, but just the time, you're not really going to be having much to come through. They do get it, but in the meantime, lost another. Trippin and Knight delivering the kills they need to. One player remaining, and it will be Oritus going down. Trippin delivers, and the Vikings find their third.
I gotta say, out of all of the players so far, I'd have to say Jake so far is getting the highest value out of his utility in all of the rounds. I mean, considering just how much of a just almost at this point danger magnet the air jabs have been, and just how many kills they managed to already bring in terms of just, you know, the activation to the frag ratio has been kind of insane. And honestly, I'm looking at all of this. This has been a pretty unfortunate so far turnaround for the Crimson roster, no matter how hard they've tried. Their defense certainly a bit struggling there overall, and
defenders protect your
not really entirely sure what needs to be really done, considering that they have all of the tools there. They have been bringing the C4s, now finally bringing in the impacts once again, but the question being is, well, what are they intending to do? We've seen a very one-dimensional defense as well coming out from them. No vertical play, no attempt even at the vertical. And in the meantime, for Vikings, they just exploiting that fact, because the moment the defense plays that one-dimensional play, you only have to worry about only just a choice few angles.
Yeah, that's where I'd like to see maybe the Crimson squad here try something a little bit different. You know, possibly go for that double roam here, especially now you're back down in basement. And the struggle they've had of just stopping the diffuser. And I feel like, you know, they've at least got the confidence that they want to be able to perform those retakes, but better yet, you just don't allow them to happen. So again, these angles need to be claimed here. I feel like where Calamity is, they're going to be able to hold down that sector. It's then the rest of the team. Someone else just needs to stand up, find that double, get themselves in that position, and an early pick here especially. Just put, you know, some doubt into the Vikings' mind, because they're coming back to like this basement side for the third time. You'd feel like the Vikings, you're feeling pretty confident they can get straight into this one.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So far, and I mean, the fact that they were allowed on so many plants and so many pushes, you've said it yourself here, has the confidence needs to be called here by Crimson, and they need to find that solution and the answer on how to do that very, very quickly. I am curious how things will really work out for Arotas here, as well as Nyan. Nyan is actually one of the two people that I'm quite curious to see. You know, you don't often really get to see a roaming mute, especially with the SMG-11 and shotgun. Usually you would see them, you know, more so being the anchor to the side. But honestly, I don't mind this. This is actually quite an exciting turnaround. Pavos is actually looking to go in for the hunt, and I'm wondering if there is any way to do it. But no, it doesn't even require that. Trippin is just the one that just does the work. Yeah, I would be confused as well, honestly.
Fair enough. An from both sides. An opening pick once again here. NDU Vikings. Notice though, will be able to return that trade on the Trippin, so no more umming or ahhing for them this round. They watch from the sidelines. 60 seconds on the clock, and this is where Arotas needs to find that double. That's the one we're looking for. They deliver. Fantastic kills there. And that's one that, you know, the Vikings, they have to then sort of worry about. They've got to go back for that at some point. And time now working against them a fair bit.
Indeed so. Already 47 seconds. This time no ability to really go for a quick drop. Now they have to worry about the flank from the Vigil. And now they actually decide to opt into trying to clear him out. You don't really have much time, 35 seconds, and you kind of need to get a move on. But without really much of a backup, Knight will have to really just go all by himself, and that's arguably the worst case scenario that you'll be asking for. So I'm wondering if Vikings, this might be the one. Okay, shoulder checking, or actually better yet, the whole body checking at this point by Retro around the corner does result in his own ultimate demise. But yeah, this by the looks of it might just be the fall of Vikings for the second time if Crimson are able to fully close it all out, as Jake is the last man standing and Arotas is the one to come on through. But it's in fact Calamity's TCSG that will be coming in clutch and concluding the round.
Arotas, I mean, that is fantastic stuff. Ask for someone else to stand up. It's been a lot of Calamity getting those kills there for Crimson. Arotas, the triple in that round, and well, I mean, it didn't start well for the Crimson squad. They lost Yarn very early on. Triple, you know, perhaps that was the play though. You know, they confuse the opposition, and then just when they think, okay, you know, starting to think what's happened there, bang, get all the kills back on your end, get your second, and now a good opportunity to try to at least have this even 3-apiece at the half.
Far at least able to get
Defenders,
the second
protect your
point.
bombs from being defused by
Not
attackers.
the worst case scenario. Well, actually, I say that you would be at least looking at a 3-wall scoreline. That is the one that they would argue as would need like life really for this to be achieved for themselves to even be able to have a competitive chance into the second half against the Vikings here. So I would hope that the gym bedroom side will actually bring in the full dividends here with the setup, and off the back of the lineup that I'm seeing. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not fully convinced on this one. I'm not sold on this lineup. I'll be real with you. That it's mainly off the back of the fact that we don't really get to see any council picks, so there's nothing to really drain that soft breach utility. I'm kind of playing for the post entry with the you know, the Fenrir gadgets, the Aruni laser gates as well. But for the most of it, you don't really have much of the trap game either really coming on through. So it's it's a bit of a mishmash of, I'm guessing, more so of, I guess, comfort zone coming out of Crimson roster.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I think, fine in these circumstances where you kind of want to play your comfort picks for a few of these. At some point, you maybe have to go onto a few you're not comfortable with. But at least to start off this round, I mean, Jake down incredibly low early on. Pretty much one tap away from them being wiped out here. So exactly what they're looking for on that side. They looked a little bit lost at sea on these second floors so far. So what they want and they need, you feel, at least this final round, as you said, to make it that 3 apiece. And Fluffy does open. They have that control in towards garage side, so exactly what they're after there.
Exactly that already. Breach starts to come on through nice and quick. Well, at least a few of the entry positions have been now established, but with Trippin losing quite a fair bit of HP, and there's still quite a few of those wild elements still on the loose. Well, for Fluffy, he needs to dip out as rapidly as possible, and yeah, it does flee to the very bottom, does get tracked around, and we'll see a little bit more of a reswing, but no, actually, the revolver is not yet fully there, and for that matter, actually, Fluffy's doing a phenomenal job there to slow things down. All of a sudden, the Vikings completely lost the leash.
Yeah, 5v3 situation now, a 5v2 as Calamity locks in. The Macquarie Crimson squad have come alive all of a sudden here. I was not ready for that one. Calamity was proning, and all of a sudden it's just Knight, so this should be a 3-3 unless Knight can pull off something absolutely insane within 40 seconds. You somehow feel that might not just come to fruition. Should know his positioning now as well, just about. As all the players close in, Knight does get at least one before the end of this first half. And, well, I mean, the Crimson lads, they're not wanting to particularly take these fights. The only pressure they have is maybe these 1v1s could go the other way, but Fluffy locks it down, and we end the first half tied at 3 apiece.
There we go. 3 apiece is certainly the perfect, well, scenario that could have really at the end developed here for MQU Crimson roster, as, look, considering how well, grim things were really looking at in the first quarter of the map, the overall first half conclusion in the 3-all certainly serves as a pretty decent starting point, albeit not the best. Far from that. 4-2 scoreline in their favor would have been a much more prettier of a situation, but nonetheless, getting that out of the way is all good and well. Now, curious to see how will they be able to really perform on the attack, considering that Kate is out of the way. I would imagine, yeah, Vikings will be banning up the Dokkaebi as well, like you've highlighted before, and potentially, well, it will be another Bandit ban as well, so, in the same way how we got to see in the first half. And coming on through, no, instead it's actually an Azami ban, which also a fairly justifiable choice considering how powerful she does make the defense of places like the rafters, like at the bottom of the blue stairs, and many more. So honestly, not a bad choice, but that now begs for a question: how will Vikings be able to really turn things around for themselves, and whether they will be able to find their recovery? And back of those picks has, I have a pretty good inkling that we might be seeing a pretty aggressive defense.
Yeah, which I wouldn't put it past them to do that in that opening round here. And especially when, you know, Crimson have got themselves right back in this. They've got the last 2 rounds, that first half. Confidence starts to pick up a little. If you're the Vikings here, you wanted to shut that down immediately. Do not let them get any sort of momentum to start their attacking side. Lock these one up. Just don't allow it. And especially, it'll be interesting to see how Crimson are going to approach these ones. We've got basement side. And also how the Vikings are going to go with their roams. I feel like it's going to be someone possibly like Trippin, maybe Knight as well. We saw Jake actually do a fair bit of roaming in a few rounds where he was playing more of those one-off positions on the attacking side. But that's something I think Crimson are going to have to look out for here, is that aggression, and that means the roams. That means they have to be very diligent with these clears across the board.
Oh yeah, diligence is going to be key here, considering the fact that it is also Trippin that is playing on the Solus, with the pick of the Valkyrie, the Thorn, even Goyo to a certain degree can be utilized as a bit more of a roaming operator. I say that though all three of those aforementioned operators are currently playing on the anchor side. Nonetheless, still could be a pretty potent combination. But yeah, Trippin on Solus will be very much a menace to spot, and well, with Irodas as well now out of the equation. That's your Solid Snake. That's your basically the roam clear for the roster. With him gone, well, Crimson might as well be considered relatively blind, and with Trippin getting the better of Nyan as well, that's your soft breach out of the equation, which makes things oh so much more problematic, because Trippin is moving, and he's moving quite a fair bit.
Just keeping active. It's actually going to fall back towards basement side, so I think Vikings pretty happy with that. They get those two openers. Now they can just play together as the teams. A trade-off. All that's needed here, Crimson, I mean, you just need to have someone go off, find themselves a double, a triple, something where they just don't lose too many members. At least bring this back to something workable. Still 90 seconds on the clock. They're making their way down. You feel like Calamity, Fluffy, they're the ones that have found a bit. Ali's going to have to put themselves on the board, maybe, if they're called upon. For the Vikings, everything done perfectly for the first 90 seconds, for the first 2 minutes of this round. Now they just need to close it.
Well, so far a bit more of a calm before the storm, it seems. 58 seconds to go for Crimson. They still yet to find much of an opener. There's still 2 C4s in hands. Trippin's P90 keeps on ringing out, and well, funnily enough, it is Jake that catches the first death of the Viking squad on the defense, but nonetheless, Pavos has a perfect position here to absolutely shut things down onto the main stairs. Swing to comes on through, but it's more so just warning shots in the meantime, it seems.
We approach now below 30 seconds. Pavos, again, just information gathering. Actually swings off that one as well. That is some aggression into 3 different crosshairs. They might even do it anyway. Pavos, how about that? Should lock in at least a kill. Ali actually knocked out Fluffy, their own teammate. Oh, it all falls to pieces there for Macquarie. And it will be the Vikings, Murdoch University, to take the first round of this second half. And look, still very early on here, Cthulhu, but that looked incredibly ominous.
Yeah, ominous is one way to really describe this for Crimson. I would say, looking back at this matchup, it would be almost harrowing, really. Just remembering some of these pushes, but nonetheless, look, it was a... I would call it a decent attempt. As of now, because look, there was definitely quite a fair few of the problems that ramped up. A lot of the issues, the hard breaching as well, was relatively late as well, and it just, whilst diligence would have been good, I don't think the way how they've imagined the diligence being done really served them in any way, considering just Crimson lost 2 of their big, well, potentially big operators in the first, what, almost a minute of the round has?
Yeah, I mean, at that point, it's always going to be a hard recover. And look, Fluffy got one back, brings her into 4v3. You think, okay, maybe there's something that they can actually put together here. But, yeah, they still had complete control of that, the Vikings team. And, well, they now look to try and change, well, put together their second in a row. We go up to the second floor this time around. So how is that going to change the favours here for Crimson, who... Well, I think for them, the first 90 seconds here is what becomes so important. If you are going to lose players, the trades need to be there. Or, you know, just allow maybe to see if the Vikings get a little bit too aggressive. They're probably feeling pretty confident after that first defensive round. Maybe they just overplay a couple of things here and get themselves in situations they don't want to be in. But, remains to be seen. 30 seconds in. This is a pivotal one. This map and series.
Absolutely, going to be quite key, and you very much right on the spot there. First 90 seconds will very much depict on how things will really kick off and whether there will be much of the momentum to really roll with for the Crimson roster. Because, yep, cool, we are starting to see a double push towards the rafters. How will Trippin respond to that push is arguably one of the bigger questions, and by the looks of it, well, Knight at least is the one to wipe the dust. So that's one of your operators out of the way, but still got Trippin around the construction side, did get forced off, and now in his position, well, he's got actually an even more of a powerful position to set up a crossfire here between himself and one of the teammates, but by the looks of it, that has been forfeited as well pretty rapidly.
Crimson, they find that opener, and they can actually just start to move their way in here. Pressure straight back onto this Vikings team, and Calamity onto Trippin.
Oh,
so two massive kills early. Shielding, again getting more of a C4 be placed out. Take it off, but all of a sudden, yeah, look to a player like Retro. It's to hit the scoreboard. Would desperately like to find a kill, but they're out of the round as well. What a swing around this has been from the Crimson boys, but it's not quite done yet.
Not done yet indeed. Well, damage has been added up here. Around with Fluffy out of the equation. At the very least, the breaching has been done, but with Calamity just keep on racking up the numbers, and Ali is the one to find the finisher. This was actually a much better run as well, and for the funniest part of it all has, arguably once again, this was one of the more passive rounds to come out of Vikings. They didn't really try to overextend. They didn't try as much of the roam game. Trippin didn't really get much of a breathing room either, and he got shut down pretty quickly. So I would say if Vikings do intend to really claim themselves the first map here, they would need to ensure that they are playing as aggressive, I would say, of an operator lineup and of a playstyle as well as possible, considering that this has worked out extremely well for him. I'm not entirely sure why switch the playstyles now.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being
Exactly. I
defused by
mean, you
attackers.
shouldn't be scared away from that. And, you know, as I feel like Vikings have been ahead in this one mostly, or at least they've seemed to be in control, but the scoreline is still 4 apiece, and the Crimson, they know that they can absolutely still take this map away from the Vikings. And, you know, if they actually go behind here, all of a sudden, that pressure just starts to turn up a little. You have to start asking, okay? Look, they will be down into basement again at some point. They're up on the second floor again. Just need to make sure that they're still playing their game here. Let's see if they try and pick up the aggression into this round as we get underway for round number 9. A chance here for the Quite Crimson crew to take the lead in this one.
Looking up ahead, what we could see here. I'm looking at the lineup. I'm expecting once again a very similar approach here. Yeah, Calamity plus Erotus to go for the Rafters push to try to just double team it and see how things will really go. I'm not entirely sure why Erotus is the one to actually drawn up ahead for Calamity, considering that the Blackbeard should be the frontliner here, but nonetheless, look, maybe there is a bit more of a bigger sort of idea behind it all, and well, at least the ace charges are getting actually quite delayed, courtesy of those canisters as well. So finally a little bit more of an upfront play here, as well as that reinforced walls to just ensure that Ash is going to be a bit more of a problematic place to play around.
Nobody for that opener presents itself. Abos, all this information in front of them. Going off that window side, that is going to be dropped down, so going to be finding themselves in a bit of pressure here, and whether or not they stick around for these fights. They did last time around when they were playing basement side, but deciding to fall back a little. Now Trippin still playing below, but it's Calamity again, finding an opener up to 12 kills. They are being a difference maker right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Huge so far push, and so far huge play to come on through.
Swapping mags.
And in the meantime, playing from behind, being cooked up. Pavos is the one to get the better of Jan as well. That's your Jackal out of the way. C4 prematurely tossed out as it's a little bit too keen about playing. Interesting way to use the the ash charge to get rid of the C4, but nonetheless, look, I suppose any impact is a good impact.
And it is. It's Calamity. That's the big one they were after. Top fraggers for both teams. It's Calamity who comes out on top against Trippin. And now the pressure on to the rest of the Vikings. There's a 4v2 situation in front of them. Knight half HP as well. Raiders continues just to walk on forward. They should know this positioning. Knight though down's fine. Fluffy and Calamity is just one shot away from death. C4 will go in. It does decent damage. And then Jake beautifully gets that peek in. Calamity with the triple. They'll look to try and clutch this out with a 4K as they move on in here. It's Ali. Oh, the spray's not great. Jake still finds it. They need to switch to the pistol. There's not much on them. It all comes down to this fight. 7 seconds. The push comes in, but it's Jake who delivers. Calamity desperately trying to put them down, but they can't quite hit their own. And it will be Vikings who take it. Swung every single way it could there, Cthulhu.
Oh man, what a roller coaster of emotions has that whole round. Poor Jake just would have been probably a little bit flustered after that first frag against the sorry, not the first frag, the second one on Thatcher. Considering just how that could have gone way worse for the man, and then whipping out the deagle to really find the finisher. I mean, that's a little stylish way to really wrap it all up. And at least for the Vikings, they are back into the lead now. Have one more point they need to ensure themselves a match point and at least an OT for this map, and then 2 more points for the win. Crimson roster still not too far off from that either. They still have a pretty solid opportunity to make the play though. And I feel so far it's been a bit more of a question of are Crimson being too hasty about their plays, because I'm liking so far the pressure that they've been mounting. They've nailed the idea that they deny Vikings the movement space. But is it too much of a hastiness, or is it rather just they take too much time to set up that aggression?
It's sort of, I think it's a mix of both. It's
activating camera.
sort of coming together from there. I mean, you feel like the win factor for both of these teams right now, it's sort of more falling, especially for the Crimson squad, definitely on Calamity being able to have that impact. Fluffy's not far away from them. You can say the same thing on the other side, where it's Tripp and Jake who are sort of leading the way in that department. And so then it becomes those role players you have, whether or not they're finding the kills, but just being, you know, presences in the moments that are needed, whether it's a delay, whether it's a piece of utility that sets up one of your star riflers and gets them that kill. That's going to be the way that they have to, for either team, it's going to win them out. Because, you know, we can see it from Calamity. They did all they could in that previous round. They got the 4K. They brought it in to a 1v1 clutch. But if they just had a backup there, if they just had one more kill from their teammates, it's a whole different story.
Story indeed, yeah. Look, Crimson, they need to ensure that they are nailing those shots and those plays. The fuse, I'm really liking the fuse choice here, because, you know, the amount of the utility destabilization that you can have with those cluster charges, the fact that you can clear out so much of that room could be absolutely phenomenal. And the drone coming on through as well. Well, Trippin's position now has been made aware. Also, I do have to point out, just for a real quick moment, the squished utility icons under the operators, and the impact looks like it's just a slightly thicker pancake as well. It just keeps on throwing me off every time. It's that, or the chubby flashbang as well. That it's the same squished one. That just absolutely takes me out. I'm sorry.
Been both a good and hilarious patch, it seems.
Oh yeah. Good old patch day. We love that.
Always
Love that in full
delivers.
capacity. Always delivers. Oh man, gotta you know, find all the goods. Oh man, Trippin scores a absolutely wild choice, wild play. Flashbang is the one to actually find the finisher, or at least the setup for the finisher for Fluffy. So that's the defensive menace out of the way. Question being is whether they will be able to move as quick as Obi-Wan to get the finisher for the round as well, or whether that is going to be all for nothing.
It needs to come together. 30 seconds left on the clock. Trippin's out of this round. The way they had the trade, it's good enough there. At what point do Crimson go with this one? They've given themselves some decent vert control up and above that other site. Droning. Still just trying to gather that information, but at some point this has to go. It has to come together, and Knight shutting down the first. Fluffy their second of the round. The drop in. Oh, you can see Knight had the initial hit for it. Couldn't quite finish them off there. Ali's desperately trying to get to the other side, and Fluffy's got themselves a triple. The diffuser, I think, maybe goes down. Wasn't even worry about it. As Macquarie lock it in with the kills. Took their time, but they deliver it. And we will go every single round, at least in regulation, and possibly more to start off this grand final on map number 1.
Certainly so, yeah, look, that's one heck of a way to really pull that all off, but yeah, gotta say, things were looking a little bit stiff on the sticks there for a few moments on some of the crossfires being set up, but massive kudos for the Crimson roster as they managed to really hold their cool, keep playing it all off, and honestly, it was very well executed overall offense. Good amount of chaos being introduced and a good amount of aggro that actually got drawn towards the Fuse who was going in for the plan, because that allowed the rest of the remaining Crimson roster actually just go absolutely wild for the frags. Now, going towards this CCTV, as I'm not gonna lie, looking at this whole lineup for the Crimson roster, and honestly, this one could be a curious one, because look, the Bravo choice is a bit more of an unconventional one. I'm liking the choice to bring in the Osa. Honestly, I wouldn't even didn't even hate the idea of a Fuse for this push per se, but I would imagine it would be a very specific sort of scenario where the Fuse utility would have actually worked to the fullest.
Perhaps we see that at some point, but now this is where, I mean, well, that was where Crimson, they need that round, because that was the basement hold again there for Vikings. First time around was perfect. It looked like it was going decently well. A place to start things off, but now there is pressure all over the board. Trippin is gone within the first 20 seconds. Yarn winning out that fight. A massive start there. And pressure now straight onto this Vikings squad. They've led basically most of this, even when the draws, they've gone straight back into the lead. But now, Crimson find themselves in a prime position to get to 6 first and have this map point to steal away from the Vikings.
It would be a pretty solid setup here for Crimson as well, considering just how much more pressure is mounting up with Knight out of the equation as well. That is your Tubarão gone, that's your DMR, that's the C4 gone as well. Pavos is potentially looking to be next on a shopping block as well, and with his smoke grenades, not even yet a singular one has been touched up. Things are looking even more problematic. Jake gone. Retro is yet to be found, and he is nowhere to be seen on site. The reswing is there, unfortunately, yet to even find himself. Mr. 007 is the last man standing.
Retro. Well, at the very least, perhaps their first kill to come through. Their flash blinded off, try to swing into this fight, shots ring out, they get some damage, but they will not be given it. And Macquarie Crimson, a flawless round to get to 6 first. Not sure where this has come from. And now the opportunity to take away your opponent's map pick here in the grand final. Can they do it?
Ooh. Look, I mean, if the Crimson roster is able to actually lock this one out, that would be a huge thing as well to pull off, because, well, for the viewers as well, if they haven't noticed, first map pick is actually a Vikings map pick as well. So winning your opponent's map pick here and then going into your own map pick with a point advantage is absolutely a huge deal to really work with. So honestly, this is a really good position for MQU Crimson team to really find themselves in. And now looking at the lineup, Irotas, last time he brought on in the Solid Snake. Unfortunately, the operator didn't really live too long to see the full realization of the utility, so I wouldn't be surprised that the switch does come on through, and it's in fact that Deimos are much more of a stable choice. Ali bringing in the fuse once again. Yeah, for this very site, this makes a lot more sense. Now, main question here, at least on my side, that is going to come through is for Jake. He has the Valk set up, he has the cameras, has the C4. We did see him play around sort of right below the kitchen. Will there be another C4 frag to come on through? Because he could actually be the big playmaker that could actually make the big difference in a round for his team.
Interesting to see. And I guess the other thing you think about here is you look at Trippin, who's sticking around towards his basement side. In fact, most of the players are, so they're not really playing that lurk. And that just feels like, again, they've been scared away from it. Those aggressive rounds they took in the opening starts of this half, all that confidence just feels like it's disappeared. And now they're playing for their lives. They're playing to hold this one down. And Trippin does start it off perfectly. Ali, the first to go and get it into the 5v4.
Just as I spoke about the C4 at this time, well, whilst there wasn't Jake, at the very least we did get to see finally some verticality to come on through. Trippin is the one to pick up that frag, and honestly, it's actually a pretty solid one. Ali has been also the big planter as well for the team, so without the fuse, without that clear out of the localized utility, certainly things might be looking a little bit more problematic for the attack of Crimson later down the line. Now, question being is, how well will the remainder of the push really go here? Still a minute and a half to go. Do you reckon, if there's much of a chance, considering that it feels like Crimson are now starting to stall out?
Yeah, this is feeling back to that first time on basement. Vikings have definitely locked this one away a lot better. Still, there's time to get this one done. The problem, of course, is you've lost that early kill. Now you start to, think about how they're playing this one together. They've also probably been thinking about if there's anyone playing on those lurks, but then Iratoas comes in with that kill back, brings it in the 4v4. 60 seconds on the clock. It is still very much anyone's round here.
Exactly that. Already spotting another few frags to come on through. Calamity actually does find himself yet another bit of tag of the shots and the swings that come on through. Crimson are actually pulling this back.
Hitting their shots, and now Trippin feels like he has to be the one to stand up here with Knight. 2v3 to try and take this one to overtime. Crimson right here, 4 at the shots of Itolis, the triple in the round. And now it's all on Knight. Position no, spray's not hitting. Man. And it will be Macquarie Crimson to take the opening map. They steal it away, 7-5.
Holy moly. Alrighty, yeah, Crimson bringing it all back. And look, what I originally said about Clubhouse being defender-sided, I take it all back. I take it all the way back, honestly, because the offensive side, at least from Crimson, actually worked out here absolutely phenomenal. And I mean, you look at this, the 3 players, Fluffy, Calamity, and Aroras, being on double digits as well for their team is a phenomenal performance here for them. And they managed to do a really, really good job. And not to discredit Vikings, their turnaround actually has been a pretty solid one as well. I do have to highlight their first half. That has been a beautiful, beautiful play, and really punishing their opposition for just the sheer amount of mistakes that were originally made. And then still managing to put up quite a fair bit of a fight going into the second half. Well, just unfortunately not enough fuel in the tank, whereas on the side of Crimson it all seemed to have been just all a play for the long burner.
Yeah, and I think that main thing was just as you highlighted, the 3 players that end up in those double-digit kills, and in the end it was only Trippin who managed that on the other side there for the Vikings. And yeah, that was something I'd sort of had alluded to when we just got into the first round of that second half, where the Viking boys, they took that one easy on the basement side. You sort of started to think, who is going to be that next one to stand up? Because just at the moment, it's Calamity, it's Trippin. But they had more, at least, that were playing closer together when it came to those kills. But yeah, fair play to them. It is the map taking a 1-0 series lead. They'll have their chance when we go to Border, our second map, which is not too far away. We're going to go to a quick break. We're going to return. More grand final action. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that little break there and, well, got a chance to sort of digest what we just saw. And that was, of course, Cthulhu, a Macquarie victory, stealing away the first map there from Murdoch Uni, the Vikings. They looked decent for a lot of that. They couldn't lock it away, but it means we come into Border, the map pick of Macquarie Uni, with their chance to close this grand final out in a 2-0 fashion.
Absolutely, a perfect setup as well for them to do that, winning their opponent's map pick. And look, honestly, let's face it, the last 2 rounds actually worked out really, really well for them. And being able to close it all out in the full regulation is not a bad turnaround at all. Now, looking at the overall ban phase, of course, yeah, once again, Dokubi facing the bench yet again, but this time it's actually a mirror ban against the defense of Vikings and a Monty versus Cade as well ban to come on through. Monty, look, in some of the tighter hallways of Border, I'm not exactly surprised that we do get to see some of the choices and, well, some of the reasons why you would really pick him, but there's definitely good setups to be introduced. So instead, we do get to see a lot more of the just, I guess, aggressive shield plays that will get to come around.
Yeah, and like we didn't particularly see a whole lot of massive shields in that last map. A bit of a clash. There was forward. No one really playing off. I wonder if you look to possibly get someone like Retro, who didn't particularly have the greatest map in the first one, just get them playing possibly the permanent shield. Just tell them, look, you lead us forward, we'll follow. Get Trippin to get, you know, those angles behind. They can lock down the kills if needed. But I mean, we'll see how that one comes together. Again, you're going to be seeing that more if they do, once they switch to that attacking side. For now, though, it's going to be the setups here on Border side, defensive end. This Vikings team who need to lock away rounds early, get that momentum back in their side. Crimson, well, they just need to keep rolling from that last map. They know if they can get into the heads of this Vikings team, which they did towards the end of that one, they can finish this off pretty quick here.
Trippin already, speaking of getting into the heads of the opposition, Trippin is certainly looking to really put in the work, but the main thing here that I am looking at in terms of how so far Vikings really been playing, and you've as well highlighted it has at the end of the first map, I feel like Trippin, considering that he was the sole, you know, big fragger for the Vikings roster, if, you know, you're not really getting as much of a traction as, you know, the all-together squad, try reinforcing what Trippin's playing. You know, at this point, bring in the Echo, use his drones as the, you know, the defensive drones, like drone in the what basically is your entry fragger, and, you know, allow him to have the best position to really find those frags on and on and on again. With Rush, unfortunately, also copying the unfortunate L there, well, that gets started with the frags for Calamity. And let's also highlight, I believe we had a player swap as well, isn't it?
Yes, there was for that one. So Rush, who is in and already down there, so the Vikings had that one through for that. Jake the Lake is the one that subbed out. Rush, spectator at least for the rest of this round. So we're in this 4v4 position. You're closing in from the other side. Fluffy trying to get that angle for the next one. Oh, he's copying. Fair bit of damage there. Pulling away some pieces, and now it's Retro who is down. Should be the 4v3. You can give anywhere the body go, pick that one up, and there will be at least the trade. Trippin straight back into the action. Star in the opening map. They've already found themselves a double here.
Speaking of, make it a triple as well. Trippin is continuing to rack up the points. May as well try to go for the ace as well, as Ali is looking to try to go for a bit more of a wider swing, but not exactly yet finding the shots. Pavlos does fall, so it's a 2-all to make the run happen, but Calamity as well now starting to get tagged up to all hell. The Deagle does actually come on through, potentially a quad as well. Quad indeed. Low HP. Ali is the last player standing, looking to try to go in for a swing. Is it going to be the ace though? As this could be big one-on-one situation. The lineup is there, unaware that the Azami is certainly going to be thrown, and it's an ace to clock it all in for the first round.
An ace in the grand final. Trippin comes alive, and the Vikings, that's what they needed. Got down to the wire. Ali bring that in too. A triple of their own and a 1v1, but just was not aware of that positioning. And just like that, the Vikings get the start that they were hoping for as they'll go into that first floor now. Bathroom teller side, and well, I mean, disappointing. I think if you're the side there of the Vikings, but at the same time, Cthulhu, this is just, I guess, again, sort of proving the point that it's Trippin, but then who else? Because an ace is great. It's Trippin versus the world. Look, if Trippin keeps doing that, there's going to be no problems. But you feel like someone else just needs to be there as well.
Yeah, well, one of the contenders before was the Jake play. Really, for how many we got to see, and honestly, with him out of the equation, it feels kind of weird that he's out. And hopefully, it was more so just to prior, or rather, personal commitments. But otherwise, honestly, I'm not entirely sure who else could really step up there, because we got to see a bit of just all over the place on the Viking side, and it's feels more and more as more so like just a Trippin show.
Yeah, I mean, they have just been coming alive as they need to. There's the load time. We just waiting, of course. We do have a console player, so that means we get this little extended period of load-ins. But don't you worry, once they're in, bang, console players ready to rock and roll. And yeah, I mean, again, like, that's where you're going to not feel too disheartened if you are the side of Macquarie, because, you know, it's not particularly something that you're feeling pressured in because it's that first round. Whether or not then you're able to bounce back for the second, you lose that one, Trippin again is a thorn on the side. That's when things start to become a bit of a problem. But again, you have 3 players end up in the double digits on that first map. You just tend to, again, play together as a team a little bit better there. And that's what you're after. As we are just still having a little wait around for this one. Hopefully not too far away from getting this fixed up. And
Defenders, protect your bombs.
console player. There we go.
All worked out at the end. There we go. Look, I did have to unfortunately lose BK, but hopefully we'll at least get him back eventually. That's the overall swing of things. But honestly, yeah, look, for Vikings here, I'm liking the slight shift. The introduction of the Legion is there, the Rooney, the Castle. So finally it's starting to show, like, yeah, the utility that at least Trippin can play around. Because, I mean, let's face it, yeah, Avos did a pretty solid job overall. Knight had, you know, on and off opportunities. For Retro, well, look, I wish Retro all the very best, and I hope that, you know, it was just, you know, a one-off game that was just rather unfortunate and caught off with the unfortunate timings. But otherwise, for the new stand-in, well, hopefully Rush may be able to see some more light as well to play. But unfortunately for Pavos, he's the one that already caught a down.
Not hoping for on that end, but it's a decent response. As Rush is that new player in, of course, and pressure immediately on them. Out early in the first rounds, they had to watch from the sidelines. Now they're hoping to try and do something themselves. Pavos would like to get themselves moved away, but it is Rush that has fallen. What a shot there from Ali. And that realistically is probably the 5v3. I don't know if the Vikings are going to be able to get after Pavos, but once again, Trippin is up and he's delivering kills.
Delivering indeed, once again, has another trap to play around, but he is getting pincered pretty rapidly here. There is a castle, at least. Retro is there to back him up, or at least to provide some more positioning and information, but so many positions that Crimson has to be very much wary about. Flash to come on through, and not exactly yet the full-on kill, but does finally find exposure, and Erotus is the one to get the better of Trippin at the end of it all. Knight is the last man standing, and even he cannot really stick around for too long, as unfortunately the G8 brings out his demise there as well. So fairly quick conclusion to that second round. Crimson not really here to muck around for too long, as it looks like maybe they gave Vikings that charity round at the beginning, but we'll see if there's going to be much of a momentum to be gained here on the offensive side.
Yeah, not exactly what they were hoping for in that regard, but again, like, you're trying to switch things back for this side, where again going to the bathroom tellers, so you're going to be feeling at least, they're feeling positive that they are straight back to this one. They're going to feel like they can do it, or it could be just sort of the side of the, you know what, we'll get that one out of the way. We'll go back to our other sites after this. The question, of course, comes through of, again, like, Trippin's got the kills early on there. I mean, really, for that one, it was just Ali who hit that massive shot to shut things down. You already dropped a player as well. That was the 5v3, and then it all fell to pieces. So this is where that pressure is just going to keep mounting for either side, and it just feels like Macquarie again. You got to feel more at home because everything's working together on that side. But the other thing is as well, you have to remember that, like, for the Vikings team, they've had to have a sub out after you lose that first map. It's basically the last thing you want happening.
Yeah, that would be the last thing that you'd really want, and well, dropping those numbers really early is far from the most ideal position really to find themselves in. It is quite though interesting, considering just how much of a, I guess, call it a whiplash effect really that we have got to witness here from the Vikings roster has. At least to me, it feels like a bit of a whiplash effect, because we get to see, you know, the highest of the highs courtesy of Trippin, and then the lowest of the lows the moment he just gets absolutely shut down. And especially that has been quite visible so far in the past 2 rounds. But going into, you know, rather looking back at the clubhouse in retrospect, you look at all of this and you know, they started off so well. It was such a energetic almost, you know, start to both of the halves. And after that, they just completely burned out.
Yeah, there's Fluffy. That's the start, and that is the main player as well. Trippin dropped. So now, Vikings, the last 4 players remaining. None of them with a kill yet either. So far, early on in this second map. So they will have to deliver there as the drone. Well, it gets as much as information as you could possibly get. It's actually still up there as well. Nyan, in the meantime, has copped a fair bit of damage back towards Break Room. Nope, still having to be careful. And check those camera angles, but it's Ali, it's a Knight. They're looking for more pressure on it. Rush does get there first, but Calamity is in with the instant trade. And just like that, it's already a 4v2.
Just like that, indeed. All a fairly quick conclusion to that one. Pablos is just gunned down at the nearly a point-blank range. Rush is able to pick himself a double at least, but as it stands, so much pressure is being applied, and now there's also a Ying to deal with. Vikings, it is not a beautiful day to really work with, and certainly not the most, well, straightforward one whilst at it. Nyan does get the plan down, but well, for Rush here, so many angles that he has to be very much considerate about, and how to really play could mean just a world of pain even before he makes his way over to the site.
Tries to clutch up that 2v1. Erotus, though, is just locked in on that angle. Hits the shots. And that is Ori Crimson taking the lead here, 2-1. Vikings, I mean, honestly, the fact they made somewhat of a round out of that, considering the start, not too bad. Problems there for them. So the bands will come in for the last of this first half, and yeah, I mean, look, their questions are being asked. They need to try and keep this close. Crimson, they can feel, or they can sense the blood in the water. They want to shut this one down here.
Exactly so. Not really here to really play around anymore. They're here to try to lock it all down, and for all the right reasons. I mean, their run so far has been absolutely spectacular. 2 rounds back to back so far, and the last one feeling arguably even more confident the moment they were able to find the frag onto Trippin. The moment he's been shut down and unable to really find any momentum really for himself, that means, or rather spells, the
Defenders, protect
problems
your bombs from being
for
defused by
Vikings
attackers.
roster. Going upstairs though, the introduction of the Rook is arguably the one that stands out the most to me, considering that there's a few implications that come with this one. Has the well, you want a little bit more of a, I guess, call it a bit more of a stable sort of play, a stable gunfight ability. The MP5 is phenomenal. The impacts are certainly there, and with the utility as well, it's potentially an opt for the fact that you just need more HP. If you can't really walk around and have a pocket dock to work with you, Rook is arguably the next best idea, plus as well the ability to be picked back on up as well. So honestly, this not the worst, not the best choice, but I'm starting to feel like maybe on the Viking side this is a little bit more of a, I guess, maybe a dire pick, albeit I wouldn't put it past that I'm maybe reading a little bit too much in between the lines here. Oh man.
Oh, well, that's not reading anything between the lines. Tripping again. So after that ace in the first round, have just been shut down time after time. Now he just cop a bit of damage. Lucky to just be able to duck away past that corner, so half HP there. But again, the Vikings, the worst possible start to this round. And this just allows Crimson, it feels like they can just get so much more forward with these drones, clear out this information, take that space, which on border, things can collapse on the defenders so quickly. The pressure being put on this Vikings team is just getting hotter and hotter every single round.
Oh yeah, it has been a very solid game to really watch from the Crimson roster, considering that, honestly, I mean, looking at their total win rate, all in all, things been looking a whole lot more, I guess, call it dramatic in consideration in comparison to what Vikings brought to the table at the beginning. But I'm keen to see if Vikings will be able to find any sort of response. They do still have the smoke grenades as well from Retro. They have the ability to shut things down. Pavlos is actually the one that gets the better of Ali as well, and is able to pick himself back on up, but unfortunately not in time. Erotus is the one to shut all of those hopes down. And well, as it stands, Vikings are certainly falling all apart, flustered and lost in the sauce, it seems, as Fluffy is the one to put the final nail into the coffin. As what is it, 3rd point now in favor of Crimson?
Yeah, that it is. 3-1 after the Vikings took the opening round as well, and since then it has been all Crimson, who, look, was very close to taking that first round as well. They're closing in on a grand final victory. Still a bit of a way to go, but these next 2 rounds pivotal. I mean, for the Vikings, the bare minimum, you need a second before we get this switch, before you go onto the attack. Otherwise, it's just getting grimmer and grimmer for them.
Yeah. Grim future is awaiting for them if things do continue going the same way they are. That's certainly something that you want to really try to move away as much as possible. So, looking further up, I'm wondering, well, what else can there really be for Vikings? Because they've already tried to play a little bit more of a passive game. They've tried to play a little bit more for a setup. They introduced the Rook. Now they are opting into what arguably be considered as a little bit more of a heavier roam play, with the introduction of Pulse for Pavlos. Trippin is back onto Solus, and we did get to see his plays on Solus, which did manage to nab, I believe, 1 if not 2 extra rounds. So maybe for Vikings, this might be the next best option to just enable even more aggression here through, well, if not echo drones or anything of such, well, Pulse it is then.
An attempt to do here. 3 rounds on the trot to this Crimson team that, after, well, being down early on that opening map, bit all at sea, if we're being honest. They locked in. The considering the way it was ending for their first half, they've basically won about 6 out of the last 8. Snake. That's just having that information. They're pulsing, looking, trying to get this information across the rest of their team. Sensor. Well, there. Droning's out. But it is Knight who at least finds the opener, and it's Calamity who's taken out of this round.
Yeah, with Calamity gone, that might complicate things quite a fair bit. We did get to see likes of Fluffy, Ali, and Erodas to come into the play as well. Knight caught with his pants down amidst the drone. Unfortunate in his own demise, but nonetheless, look, it is what it is. That's the way the cookie crumbles, and well, that's the way that they will have to take it. In the meantime, Solid's on radar to try to catch some sort of movement, courtesy of Erodas, as unfortunately won't be really finding anything, and well, that should be the indicator that it's time to go. Considering that there's still minute 25 to go, you may as well go for some of the swings. Erodas finds another one onto Pavos. We might be seeing even more of an absolute flooring as Ali is the one to pick up yet another one. The player that has had a fairly quiet time, but tripping with a double does make things a whole lot more interesting all of a sudden.
Still time, and Trippin's up. That means the Vikings have hope here. 8 kills. They know where this next play is coming from as well. Trippin, the triple, and now looking for that 4th as it's left to Fluffy to try and clutch this one up. Rush will play with them. Just go off each other here. The same angles. Get that trade as Fluffy starts to walk in. Still time for them. They've just got to be careful if the Vikings. You can't allow anything else from that side. And it's Rush who locks it down beautifully. They won't go away just yet, the Vikings. They get that second round as we come into the last round of this first half.
Last round indeed, and yeah, that was potentially that one breather that Vikings really needed to keep themselves rolling. And Trippin did finally manage to wake up as well, which is always a good sight as well for Vikings. Being able to nab those kills certainly turned things around pretty quickly, and would argue as well gave a bit more of a shock to the system for the Crimson rosters too. Maybe they've gotten a little bit complacent after the prior 2 rounds, considering that without Trippin, things certainly looked a little bit more disorganized on the side of Vikings, and with him around, well, they were able to become a force to be reckoned with. So, going down to the ground floor, the workshop and vents, a site that, look, you can play this in a plethora of ways, and I'm certainly curious to see whether there is going to be any sort of expansion onto the top floor, but by the looks of it, not really a whole heck of a lot, but a very almost turtle-like hold being set up. Oh, pardon me. Pavos is the one looking to set things up, so is Trippin. So I do actually rate this a whole lot more all of a sudden.
We start this 6th round. And the Vikings get these 2 rounds back to back. It was Trippin again being the start. Rush also locking in with a few of the super sub doing their piece. Crimson, I feel like they missed out on that one there. Double round, and they let it slip. I mean, it was a 4v2 in their favor, so could have been a 4-1. You're looking at possibly 5 then. You'd almost call this grand final a map, but now, all of a sudden, think about that 3-3. Calamity finding that information. They've been one who's actually been quite quiet on this map. After starring in the first, others have been there. Pick up the slack. They would love a moment here just to get themselves into this one.
Yeah, well, speaking of, entry is being done here. The looks of it, Fluffy tried to begin the overall progress here, but with Nyan out of the equation, that's your hard breacher gone. Things might be looking a whole lot more scarier. Trippin picked up and down, but will be able to actually get himself back on up and running, and off the back of the rook plates as well, but the targeting by Deimos should enforce this even further as the Vendetta 44 does ring out, but unfortunately for the Deimos himself, no frags just get picked on up, and also close as well. I know we both get to see, you know, the outlines from the spectator view, but man, some of these gunfights are just so close to actually happening.
Players on the other end just don't have any idea how close they really are for some of them. The Vikings now find themselves in a pretty awful position. The fuse are being planted as well. With Trippin and Pavos with such low HP, Rush is going to have to do the heavy lifting, or the other two are just going to have to hit some crazy headshots. The Vert available. So much to work with here for Crimson. Surely should lock in this fourth round. Calamity delivers onto the head there, and it's Rush and Trippin all that remain. They're trying to clear upstairs. They're trying to get them away from the Vert, but they can't get any. And it will be Macquarie to take the 4-2 lead as we switch sides into the second half.
Ooh-wee, alrighty. Oh, a 4-2 conclusion to the attacking half as well. That's a heck of a scoreline to really work with. Now, curious for me here has, how will Vikings be able to respond? Whether they will have still the fuel in their tank to keep things rolling, whether the attacking side is in fact the dictator of the overall progression here for either one of the teams, or whether, well, Quarry will be able to just keep their ball rolling and be able to keep on swinging on out. Dokkaebi once again banned on out, and funnily enough, it's actually Smoke to be taken out courtesy of Vikings as well, alongside with the Miro. The Miro one kind of makes sense to me. The Smoke one, look, I see the reason, and considering how powerful he can be, but surely there's a better choice than the Smoke, right?
I mean, yeah, they're probably thinking, or maybe reading into something with the ban there that you know, that they know that is going to be possibly played, or was going to be played. I mean, not going to be happening now, but well, there's a lot of others you can probably get away with or get rid of there, but you know, you live with it. That's what you take away. Mirror was the other one, of course, but well, here we go. Corey Crimson, 3 rounds away, possibly taking out AEL University Open Series Grand Final. Meantime, the Vikings, a lot of work to do here, Cthulhu. They're not out of it, but they do need to change things up with smart.
Oh yeah, a lot of work still to be done. I'm liking what I'm seeing though from the attack of Vikings, the introduction of the Monty. Though, I mean, Monty for Pavos is certainly one of the options to really work with, but if before, I mean, we could, you know, argue that, you know, it was still a steady progression. Yes, Trippin was the starlight, the start player for Vikings, and the rest of the team was slowly pulling up. In this case, in this map, that scoreline very much has a much more of a starker contrast in comparison to what we're seeing, for example, even from Corey Crimson roster, with, you know, the likes of Fluffy, Erotas, even Jan, Ali as well, all actually on fairly even scorelines. I'm liking what I'm seeing here as well. The attempt, the smoke grenades to come on through, no C4s just yet, and one flying on in. Is that enough to actually get rid of Pavlos? Not enough, actually. Knight is actually the one to pick up Ali, and the plan to boot as well. To top it all off, things are looking pretty well here for Vikings.
Views are down. They are in the 4v3, so player advantage here with Crimson, but they have a lot of work to do to get themselves back into this one. Utility aplenty to make their way through, but the Vikings, they just need to play off each other here. They don't need to really swing on these ones as much, and Tripper could play for the outside, shielding on the other end, and you can just see it for Crimson. They are just getting knocked down further and further. Trippin gets the double as well. They are doing all that needs to be done here. Calamity desperately trying to do something with a counter defuse. Fluffy does have that one there. They go back to the hole. They get to at least half, but then that's when the jump in comes together. And the Vikings strike. Ooh. And they get themselves right back to a 1-round game. Perfect start on their attack there.
Solid turnaround, yeah. Good hold, solid basing. really well executed defense here from Vikings, and they didn't really shy away from being a little bit more on the confrontational side as well. We got to see, you know, the Monty got a little bit more proactive about some of the swings, still kept an open sideline for the long-range shots from the Thatcher. So all in all, actually well coordinated defense of the diffuser here for the attack of the Vikings roster. On the side of Macquarie, look, things have, well, could have been executed a whole lot better. He could have gone for a double swing as well, but in that position, there were a bunch of very difficult decisions that should have been made, and, well, in fact, the gambling didn't really fully pay off. Now, moving on onwards, it looks like, yeah, the reset of the same site is being introduced, pretty much similar lineups as well, and one would be pretty certain with the lineup that Vikings are introducing, we are going to see yet another archives push here as well,
Yeah. I mean, Crimson have to be a bit more ready for it this time, and this is the thing that works well, at least for Fortress side. I mean, these attacks, you can just go in quick. You can hit these ones. You can surprise the defenders. I mean, they have to be locked in, switched on. You saw it there in that last round. Macquarie just a step behind. Now, information actually passed over there pretty nicely. The players Macquarie, that camera not quite destroyed yet. Yeah, look towards whether or not they'll go for an archive side. Protected outside for half a second, but the Vikings, that is the round they're after. They've got that momentum back. They've got the confidence back. Very solid round. Now they need to do what they haven't been able to accomplish so far here on Fortress, and that's get back-to-back rounds.
Exactly that, but with a setup like this, we might just actually see that response as well. The C4s to come on through, so is the Flames as well. Knight is the one to at least find some redemption, but that is your Monty out of the equation, and that is a perfect counterplay here by the Macquarie roster here to try to find their own frags here. And Fluffy, oh my days as well, nailing the shots here quite elegantly here. 3v3. The diffuser is right at the doorstep, and now the ball is in Vikings' hands. What do they do? How do they approach this, considering so many angles now currently set up onto one of the push points? That's actually going to be disgusting here.
Yeah, that is a fantastic angle. Question is, the Crimson is like, Fluffy, how long do they hold it? Look away for it for the time being. Trippin continues to be that force. Go for that diffuser plant. Oris in the meantime did find Knight, but Trippin will get it past, and now the 2v2. The Vikings trying to get this to 4 apiece. Crimson, Macquarie desperately trying to keep their advantage. But already, the fuses ticked past that 10 seconds. Can play this one outside. Rotus saw the head for half a second, sprays out, but it's Fluffy who falls. Trippin, the triple in the round, 15 kills. They continue to deliver time after time. They should have themselves another here. Just need to walk forward on it. It'll be Retro finds it, and that might just be their first kill. And we are all tied at 4 apiece.
There we go. Good turnaround here for the Vikings. They able to keep on punishing their opposition for, well, being maybe a little bit too keen on trying to reset the same site. And, well, for that matter, Crimson, whilst they had the good initial response, unfortunately not enough to really reel the entirety of the round back. And unfortunately, the presence from down below was very much limited without much of a sightline towards the planter. So, look, all in all, I'd say an improvement from the very first defensive round, but I'm wondering if this could actually spell potentially yet another very unfortunate turnaround and a bit of a reverse sweep to come on through with this time Vikings really taking on the lead.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're the ones that find the pressure now. Look, you're up 4-2 in the grand finals, up a map, closing in on what you think possibly is this victory, and then all of a sudden things just completely switch the other way around. I mean, Trippin has been a star. I mean, Trippin is being a star. If Trippin's up, they've got a chance. But the others, I mean, they're just getting their moments. I mean, Retro, 3 kills in this one. Pavos, Knight, Rush, when they've been asked to deliver, or at least just play off the angles when they're there for a trade, they are doing it. They know what their roles are, and they are delivering. And now, Corey Crimson. This is where things start to get a little bit uncomfortable. Maybe getting a bit more on the reads when it comes to this defensive holds, but at the same time, I mean, you could be sitting in the spot here where you've gone from a 5 or possible 5-1 first half, and now 4-2 disappeared, and you might be sitting down 5-4.
Yeah, that reality is very much always a bit of a tilter. When you think about it, really has, isn't it? When you've gained so much momentum and all of a sudden all of that has been basically all deemed absolutely nil without much of a success. Already, Candela Charge is starting to come on in. It's a very accelerated push once again.
And it is. Diffuser plant will go down. Ali's already out of the round as well. And it's going to be a 5v4 on this retake. They can't stop that. Pavos down to half HP. But this is, again, the shield is there. This is such a difficult one to be able to tap on the diffuser, hold down. You can see what they're trying to do with these ones here as Calamity is going to attempt for that. It's a bit to break, but they still get that kill. None comes through with it. 25 seconds as Fluffy attempts to get on it now. The counter diffuser trying to go through. Fluffy gets close, but it's not close enough. And the Vikings have rattled off 3 rounds in a row to take the lead at 5-4.
Vikings find the basically the kryptonite here of their opposition, managing to keep on just pressuring their opponents. And the confusing, or rather odd part is, Corey has not yet found a response to that rush play at all. Why ban Thatcher at this stage, considering just how much of a line of sight Glass has been able to provide? Why not ban Monty at this point, considering he has been the staple operator that they brought in for that stability in the post plant as well? It feels like, you know, the moment we switched things around, the moment they went onto the offense, or rather onto the defense, they completely forgot all of the basics of how you stop the whole push. And, you know, start bringing in the Thorn. You can just check where your the shortest path to the side, where this push is going to happen. Then set up all the traps. We've got to see that as a work in progress set up exactly on this very site, where we got to see the C4s, the Goyo canisters to come on through. Now we get to see the Legion to bring on to be brought on, and now we get to see the Ella as well once again for Erotus. But the problem being is that all of these setups, yeah, they're all great and all, but Crimson are not playing proactively upon them. That's the problem here.
Yeah, again, they've just got to be fought proactive, as you say, on top of this. They just can't allow these quick diffuser plants. I mean, it's not even, I don't know, miscommunication off it, but Vikings, like, they just seem to know the spots, the timings, everything that's coming together for them at the right times. Crimson, I mean, they were flying in this one. Had it all in front of them. Now 3 rounds dropped in a row. Vikings, I didn't think I'd be saying this, but they are just 1 round away from getting map points up, taking us to that decider.
Exactly that, yeah. Very much an accelerated progression, and once again we get to hear as well and see the Monty starting to make his progression over Pavos, despite being a player on a 2-9 scoreline. Arguably has had the second biggest contribution to the team, I'd say, here with his presence.
Folks, diffuser plate. It's happening again, and it's being held. This time Fluffy does get that one back. Nyan, and they actually have been able to shut most of that down, but Ali actually did end up killing their teammate. Rush brings it back to the 3v3, so chaos around the site. But they have stopped the diffuser plan for the time being. So reading into the Vikings one, but it might just not matter if they can't get those kills back. Baratus gives them that advantage. It's left to Retro, but there is one individual still in this server. Their name is Trippin, and they can absolutely still get this through for the Vikings.
Oh yeah, Trippin is the one person that could really turn things around, and we did get to see him do that exact thing multiple times. Punch hole has been spotted. The presence is certainly a known thing, and thankfully with a minute and 10 remaining, there's still obviously ground to be covered and, well, plays to be had. Now, question being is whether Trippin will be able to line up that shot as well. Quick checks to bring on in, and on an IQ out of all the operators, this would be a perfect time to really just floor it, really, towards the site.
Hold back for the time being.
And
His ankle's being held.
Oh, man.
Comes up, the drone gets that information. Now you start to come forward a bit more together, and a swing in, Trippin delivers on that kill. Pressure mounts again here from Macquarie Crimson. Shaking in their boots because they know who's in front of them. And Trippin, though, he's done, dusted. Finally taken down. And now it's Retro to try and put this one together. Diffuser drop, the angles on either side, and they don't have time to do these slow peaks. They will come in, and Fluffy shuts it down. Macquarie Crimson will take it. And we are even at 5 all. Once again, every single round of regulation on a map.
5 all. In honestly, almost a polar opposite pathway that has been taken. We got to see, you know, Crimson climbing up from the ashes back on Clubhouse. Now it certainly felt like it's Vikings trying to climb back on in as well into the overall play. The problem being is here for Vikings, if they do lose out on this very map, that's it. That's GG. That's the whole match finished, done and dusted, and no more opportunities to really find any sort of redemption. Question being is whether this specific round will really be a win for them, because the first team that does solidify themselves at least in overtime, I would argue would have a much more of a comfortable time, just considering how much less pressure there is. You do manage to find yourself that extra bit of buffer, and even if you do go into overtime, you get to play a whole lot more rounds. You still have the opportunity to just claim that whole map point, and, well, in terms of Macquarie as well, potentially even the game and the whole matchup.
The pressure on both sides. Macquarie Crimson to close it. They don't want to go to a third for the Vikings. For all the work they've done to get this back. Trippin, the one leading things, 18 kills.
Surely it's
a decent scoreboard. It could be. I mean, Fluffy's not far behind. All things considered, 14 kills himself. Iris on 10. Ali on 8. That is the thing still. It just feels like Crimson. Yes, they give up those 3 rounds in a row. Yes, they'd be disappointed with how those rounds were put together. But team-wise, they just seem to be a bit more cohesive here. I think that gets the job done for them in these last couple of rounds. But one of these teams, they're going to have that map point. Who's it going to be here, Cthulhu?
We'll get to find out that very soon. Once again, it's the Monty coming on in. The impact to be thrown a little bit maybe prematurely here, as well as, well, one would hope to see a little bit more traction maybe to come out from them, as Pavlos does take quite some damage, I believe, from down below. It is all down to, I believe, Nyan just to end for themselves, and now finally with Calamity close by, looking to try to maybe fend off the attack for a brief moment longer. Here, the job right now for the 2 Crimson players is just to waste as much time and not die out as quickly as... Oh, Rush actually does at least get traded out. Though not the most ideal operator to trade on out, considering that you need the Legion for the late game as well.
Comes an issue. Calamity trying to get themselves re-rotated. Oh, they get the tap, the spray, connection on towards Knight. It's just down below, trying to play off this vert side. And that one. Calamity continues to move. Position known in front of that shield, so they just have to keep themselves going. The Vikings searching for it. Another fight, possibly around balcony end. They're creeping up these stairs, and I don't think they're aware of this one on the right. Actually just starts to fall away at the right moment.
That's good.
At least revealing. 50 seconds, Vikings. I feel like you need to get yourselves a bit closer for this hit here.
Oh no, hold that thought. There is already a plan starting to go down, but this time shut down. Fluffy this time decides to say, no, not this again. But 3v3 is in play. Trippin is still very much alive. Knight is already barreling towards the site as well himself.
3v3, Trippin trying to set it up, but Retro is dropped down. Fluffy incredibly low. Zali will lock in that kill there. Trippin and Knight trying to get this done, but it's Calamity, the double kill, and now it's all Trippin. 2 players incredibly low, but there's just no time. They need to start jumping into this hatch and go for this diffuser plant, and there's just not giving them any angles, any time, and as well as they've done, as well as they've played these ones, it's not going to happen here. They go for that diffuser plant, attempt to hold, but it just won't happen, and it's match and grand final point here for the side of Macquarie Uni.
Ooh-wee. Alrighty. Alright. Okay. Right, we're finally getting the traction as well here as potentially the final round to be had here. Macquarie Crimson versus the Vikings roster. So far, it has been a very much of a back and forth. I have to give kudos to both rosters. I have to say that honestly, Trippin has been showing up immensely for his team. It's just that it is unfortunate that the overall consistency has been so far very much of a wobble for them. But meanwhile, on the side of Macquarie, the moment they get rid of Trippin, that's their ticket for the win. But it's dealing with Trippin as what seems to be, well, for the lack of a better word, it trips them up as well.
I mean, they have done everything you could possibly ask for a player.
Oh, yeah.
They are trying to take this to overtime now. You asked for 21. You feel like they at least need to get the 2 in this round. Get that number up. Give the Vikings a chance, and then even more possibly if we go to the OT. But Crimson, this is it. This is their chance to lock this away. It would be a fantastic grand final victory. Both maps being 7-5 as well. That's what they're trying to get done. Can they do it, though? That is the question. So here we go. Last round of regulation. Who's going to be able to take this one?
In we go. Potentially final round. The nerves will be absolutely ramping up here. Interesting to see as well, quick point out to that is worth mentioning. Retro has swapped on in for the Thermite. We do have the introduction of the Gridlock as well to try to just lock things down. So you're doubling down with that same utility that Trippin has been introducing and looking to really just, you know, try to just slow the re-aggression that Crimson have been bringing in.
Walls will start to be broken. Trippin hang off that grapple and gets that angle on towards Fluffy. Avos nervously thinking about if they want to go forward here. Utility trying to hit the right spots, trying to draw out one of those players. Give themselves an opportunity. It's decent damage, at least to the early on side. Also think forward, the C4, it actually hits Trippin!
No.
That's not the one that you want to see go down for the Vikings, and Fluffy will get picked back up. Pavos does deliver a beautiful kill there, and Retro as well, but it's a 3v2, diffuser down. It's all left onto Retro and Rush B.
A tragic turnaround here. Both of the players are very much split apart and so still far away from the site. I mean, just the sheer amount of fuss that has been made over the fact that this is the defense for the top floor and Vikings are left in an absolute shamble of a setup. And I can feel, you know, the moment I saw Trippin's name pop up on the kill feed, it's just their heart sunk there. It was just, yeah, no, tragic is arguably the only way to really describe how that must have felt.
An angle from above. Some point they need to start dropping in. Crimson got the player advantage, the angles, the hatch being covered as well. Retro and Rush, what can they deliver here? actually destroy a few more in front. Creep forward off, but 16 seconds, they have to go. You've got to get yourself in towards these sites. Retro firing, spraying. They're not quite connecting, though. Time continues to tick. It might just be down to that one. It's Ali with the first. Rush B, all that remains, but that was the diffuser dropped.
That's it.
And it's all done and dusted. Macquarie Crimson, your grand final winners. They get it done in a 2-0 fashion.
There it is. That's it. GG. Well played. And yeah, 275 games to wrap it all up. Yeah, look, if I was stripping, I probably would have felt it very much the same. So I might have most sincere condolences to the man himself. But look, I still have to say nothing to scoff at. 19-6 of a scoreline for Trippin. And well, whilst that was a gargantuan effort, unfortunately, it was all at the end, all a Tower of Sisyphus really for him.
Yes, well, the king without a crown, unfortunately, there for Trippin, as it is the squad there of the Vikings that just can't quite get it done. But full credit to the Macquarie team. Look, they were pushed there. They had the advantages. They were down early in the first map as well. They fought back there. They took that 7-5. They come into theirs, up 4-2. They lose 3 on the trot, down 5-4, staring down the barrel of being sent to a third from a very winnable position. But Cthulhu, when they were asked to deliver, they did. Fluffy, of course, was a major impact for them, but across the board, it was just that team cohesion that just did it for them in the end.
Oh yeah, definitely a much more well-gelled sort of roster that came together was definitely the big solution, I guess call it the win condition here as well. And honestly, yeah, no, it was an absolute pleasure watching how really Macquarie roster has really played their game. Look, there's obviously plenty of room for improvement, but as of now, look, this was a very well adjusted game. And by that, I mean, you know, we got to see the absolute flooring. Let's not sugarcoat it. Vikings really put up a phenomenal fight, and the fact that the rush strats lasted for as long as they did is already a pretty big testament to how well they were able to keep up the pressure. And it took so many rounds for the adjustment, but when the adjustment came, Macquarie managed to really keep it nice and steady and held well. So absolute kudos for them and massive congratulations on their win.
Yeah, so magic. Congratulations for them and to all the teams. Of course, they were in the Open Series for this season. 8 in total. We saw, of course, 4 make it to the playoffs. We didn't get a chance to see that third place game, which would have been a whole lot of fun to see. But congratulations to all the teams, especially, of course, to the Macquarie squad that gets the victory, the grand final winners there. As we're about to come to the end of this broadcast. But before we do go, guys, we do have to thank our sponsors, and we'll, of course, start off with AGON by AOC. AGON by AOC is the #1 gaming monitor brand in the world. AGON by AOC provides the best in-class monitor solutions for gaming and all other needs.
Many extra thanks as well to our friends at HyperX and Officeworks as well. Power your game with the latest HyperX and, HyperX gear at Officeworks. Push performance to the limit with the latest in gaming tech. From high spec to precision gear, Officeworks has what you need.
And of course, finally, our Indomie partner, Indomie. They're our noodle partner, of course. Made with high-quality flour and selected ingredients and spices. A plate of Indomie mee goreng will certainly brighten up your day. Try any one of their flavors available today from your local grocer or at indomie.com.au. So thank you very much to all of our sponsors there as they bring us this beautiful grand final. Help us to do it. And of course, guys, if you do want to see highlights, if you do want to see any other information for upcoming the next seasons that are going to be together for the rest of the year, do check us out. You can find us at AUE Sports League on all the socials, Instagram, Facebook, X, YouTube, and TikTok. We can find all that information. But from myself, has Daddy Singh, from Cthulhu, we do have to say goodbye. We hope you've enjoyed this Friday evening. Cthulhu, do you have any words to send us off with at all?
Honestly, it's been a phenomenal grand final to watch. A very pleasant set of games to watch. Massive congratulations to once again to Macquarie, and honestly, here's to more phenomenal Siege throughout the year.
That's what we're hoping for. But for now, guys, go and enjoy your long weekend. Myself, Cthulhu, are out. Bye for now. We'll see you next time.